back. They jumped on board with the sponsorship when we first came up with the concept of doing the Bermuda Golf Classic. They've been a great supporter of our sponsors that have allocated all of the money to the America's Cup this year. Goslings saved some for us. So we really appreciate it. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew. He's going to tell you a little bit about Goslings, and then he's got some great rum that he's going to let you guys taste. So,
well, I see a few familiar faces around here, so welcome back to familiar faces and some new faces. Welcome to Bermuda. So we got a wonderful product here at Goslings Rum. I'm just going to give you guys a little background on the rums, and then we're going to offer some up for samples so you guys can come up, and if you want to learn more about the individual rums, we can chat in person. But a little bit about Goslings. They're a family business, and actually the oldest business here on the island. But that's no real surprise because we like to drink a lot here in Bermuda. So the Goslings have been doing very well since 1806. And it all started with a gentleman by the name of William Gosling. And he was a wine and spirit merchant in London and wanted to expand his business from London to America. So in 1806, he chartered a ship called the Mercury, an old square-rigger tall ship, and loaded the boat up with 10,000 pounds sterling worth of wine and spirits, which 200 years ago was basically a pirate ship full of booze. And he decided he was going to remain in England, and he asked his eldest son, James Gosling, to get on the boat and make the voyage across the Atlantic. Naturally, James pretty excited to be getting on a boat with that much of his father's alcohol, and the world's first booze cruise set sail, and they never even made it close to America. They were actually becalmed at sea, which meant there wasn't a lot of wind around, and the captain said to James, your charter's running out, you got two choices. We either have to turn back to England, or we're going to drop you off in the closest British port. So James obviously didn't want to go back to his father of failure, and decided to press on to Bermuda. And after 91 days at sea, he was dumped on the dock in St. George's, way up in the east end of the island, with 10,000 pounds sterling worth of wines and spirits. So immediately, word got around the island when it just arrived, and the locals were running down to St. George's screaming hallelujah because their prayers had been answered. And James realized that there might be an opportunity to start a business right here on the island. So they began wholesaling the products they had from England. So if you could imagine brandy and whiskey and gin, sherry and port wine and products like that. But they realized very quickly they were missing one very important product. Rum. So in 1809, the construction began on the Royal Naval Dockyards. That meant the British sailors were coming here to Bermuda. And we all know what British sailors like to do, right? Go sailing. And crash their boat in the dock. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, Ben Ainslie Racing did crash their boat in the dock recently. It had nothing to do with rum consumption, no. But the British Navy used to issue a daily ration of rum to their sailors, which they sourced from all over the British West Indies. So Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica, and Barbados. So the British Navy would buy rum from them. And the Goslings said, we need to get some rum here to Bermuda. But looking around the island, it's 21 square miles. There's not enough land here to grow the sugarcane that we needed to produce a lot of rum. So the Goslings began sourcing the best rums from all over the West Indies, shipping them here to Bermuda, where they experimented with blending and aging the rum to create their own very unique style. So originally, it was served on draft. They didn't bottle it. You had to bring in your own bottle or empty bucket, whatever you could get your hands on, and they would take it up to the liquor store and fill it up right out of the barrel that the rum was aging in. After World War I, they began to recycle old champagne bottles, very similar to this, which they got from their #1 clients here in Bermuda, the British Navy. And they took the champagne bottles from the Royal Naval Dockyard by dinghy to their shop, which was located in Hamilton. They said they cleaned them up, and then they began to bottle the rum and the brandy and everything in the old champagne bottles. The challenge was they had no labels, so it was really hard to distinguish which was which once they filled them up. So what they did was they corked it and used different colored wax to color code the top of the bottle to distinguish between the different styles of rum and the different spirits. The most popular rum at the time was called Old Rum. They weren't exactly marketing geniuses back then, right? They had a rum that aged in a barrel for a long time. It was Old Rum. And Old Rum was actually identified with black wax on the top of the bottle. And locals began going into the liquor store and asking for the rum with the black seal. It took them about 6 decades to clue in, realizing they were the only ones called an Old Rum. There was a gentleman by the name of Goose Gosling. His real name was Francis, but he went by Goose, who illustrated the barrel juggling seal as a play on words for the black seal. It has nothing to do with our seal population here in Bermuda. You guys have seen them, right? There's 4 at the aquarium if you're desperate to see a seal here in Bermuda. So the Black Seal is the #1 selling spirit on the island, and it's also the #1 export off of the island. The only thing we make of Bermuda is rum and babies. Everything else comes in a 20-foot shipping container. So it's a big part of our culture here. We have all kinds of crazy traditions with rum. One of them I should highlight is a roof wetting ceremony. So here in Bermuda, you guys know what the roof does? Keeps your head dry. It collects rainwater. We're surrounded by salt water, but we have no fresh water, no bodies of fresh water on the island, no lakes, no rivers, anything like that. The original skilled labor here were boat builders, and they designed the Bermuda roof very similar to the bottom of a boat, wooden beams, wooden ribs, and then they quarried limestone from all over the island and layered it on top of the roof. To give it that rigid look, it also increased the surface area of the roof, so it collects more rainwater, which goes into a tank under the house. So we all know boat builders have a tradition when they finish building their boat, right? They christen the boat with champagne. Well, they came up with the tradition here when they finished the roof. It didn't matter if the rest of the house was completed, but if the roof was finished, it's time for the celebration called the roof wetting ceremony, which consisted of everyone that was building the house and the owners going up on the roof with a bottle of Black Seal, pouring a little bit on the roof and then a lot down their throats. So that's one funny tradition. The other one is Bermuda fish chowder. If you guys have not tried Bermuda fish chowder, well, I highly recommend it. I haven't had the one here at the hotel in a while, but I'm sure it's fantastic. And Bermuda fish chowder dates back to the homes of the fishermen. They go out, they get their catch of the day, they fillet it, they sell the fillet, and then they're left with the rack and all the offcuts. They would boil down the rack to make fish stock, add the offcuts of fish, vegetables, tomatoes, onions, and rum. But what happens when you cook with rum? Tastes better.
Tastes good.
The flavor's there, but the alcohol evaporates, right? So they serve you the soup at the table, and they come around with 2 little cruets. One has sherry peppers. Not everyone in the same household likes their soup as spicy as the next. So you spice it up with a little sherry peppers, and then the other cruet has Black Seal rum in it. And when I was a kid, we used to go to the lobster pot restaurant with my grandmother, and I convinced the waiter to leave the cruet set right on the table. And next thing you know, my brothers and I were enjoying rum and cokes, and my grandmother had no idea. So, big part of our culture here. The national drink of Bermuda is the dark and stormy. You guys know why we have a national drink? Because we like to drink a lot. It's because we're a British colony, right? We carry British passports, we sing God Save the Queen, so we wanted to figure out a way to express our national identity. We thought alcoholic beverage was the best way to do that. So the dark and stormy is our national drink. It's Black Seal rum and ginger beer. That's a phenomenal cocktail. And in 2016, we introduced a new rum, Goslings Gold Seal rum. And this was introduced to celebrate our partnership with the America's Cups, with official rum and official ginger beer of the America's Cup. This is a much different style than the Black Seal. The Black Seal is very rich, very flavorful. The Gold's a lot lighter, mellower style of rum. The signature drink with this is called the South Shore. And it's Gold Seal, fresh lemonade, a splash of ginger beer, and mint. And it's absolutely amazing, very refreshing. Named after the beautiful beaches on the South Shore in Bermuda. And then the final rum we have, if you guys want to taste this, or we can save it for after dinner, is something that Bermudians save for very special occasions. You know, birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, divorces, anything you want to celebrate. Bermudians have a little splash of the old rum. This we only bottle once a year. We do about 15,000 bottles a year, and each bottle is hand labeled and hand numbered. It's based on the same blend as the Black Seal rum, but aged a lot longer in the once used bourbon barrels. So this got about 16 to 20 years of barrel aging. It's something we enjoy on very special occasions, such as being here at Cambridge Beaches on a beautiful Friday evening. So thank you guys for your attention.
Man.
And if you guys want to come up and have a sample of any of the rums, I'll be here and drinking rum with you. Thank you very much.
If you'd like to go ahead and get started, the buffet is open. You can grab your plate, grab a seat, come up, grab something to drink with
Grab some
Andrew.
rum.
Just enjoy. All right.